Census trends heavily favor Republicans in future presidential elections. This is why Democrats are so scared right now. This is why they're going in, they're trying to change laws, they're trying to go in and redistrict to try to balance against Republican redistricting, even though it's against a lot of their places like California state constitution. They're trying to amend things and stuff like that because they are so afraid that they're going to lose power. They're so afraid that people are so turned off by them that they have to resort to these tactics to try to take over because the Democrat Party is super duper unpopular right now, and they are scrambling and trying to find ways to try to try to take back over. But instead of changing their policies, they're doubling down on the stuff that people don't like about them anyway. And the only way to try to seize power is to try to go in and try to change a lot of rules and try to change a lot of laws because they are afraid of what's going to be happening in these future elections. So we're going to talk a little bit about it, but before we get started, go ahead and hit that like button, share this out so we can get this information out there. Subscribe if you're not already a subscriber, and hit that alarm bell so you know when I'm putting out new stuff. Also, check out my link tree in the description. It has a link to my Patreon. That's where I'll talk about things that I can't talk about here. There's also a link to my Instagram and my X account, so follow me there as well. All right, so let's get into this news. Now, this comes from the Conservative Brief, and they report that for decades, Democrats have followed a reliable path to the White House: secure California, New York, and Illinois, add key states in the upper Midwest, and edge close to 270 electoral votes. But by 2032, that formula may no longer work, according to a report last week. Quote, population shifts, reappointment after the 2030 census, and aggressive redistricting are reshaping the political map in ways that could leave Democrats with far fewer paths to victory. U.S. presidential election news noted. Americans are leaving high tax heavy regulated states like California, New York, and Illinois for Texas, Florida, and the Californias, excuse me, a migration that is reshaping political power, the outlet said. After the 2030 census, analysis expect Democratic strongholds to lose seats in Congress, with California, New York, and Illinois all projected to shrink. Texas could gain at least 2 seats, while Florida is likely to add 1. Each congressional seat equals an electoral vote, meaning Democratic strongholds will lose influence while Republican-leaning states gain clout. Today, Democrats have more than a dozen viable paths to the presidency, but by 2032, their options could narrow to only a few. Even if they hold the blue wall of Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania, the map may not be enough, the report said. To prevail, Democrats might need to sweep smaller battlegrounds like Nevada, New Hampshire, and Arizona. A single loss could hand the White House to Republicans. By contrast, GOP strengths in the South and Sun Belt would leave Republicans with multiple routes to victory, even if they drop a state or two. The redistricting battle highlights the stakes ahead. GOP-led legislatures in Texas and Florida are expected to fortify their maps, while Democrats are scrambling to hold ground. California has even called a special election to redraw its lines, reflecting party leaders' growing concern. That's what I was alluding to earlier. Legal fights will continue, but the broader trend is clear. Population growth is favoring red states, and no court ruling can change that. The report continued. I mean, people are voting with their dollars. They're leaving these crime-ridden, high-tax Democrat-ran cities and states and going to places with low taxes and low crime. I mean, it's simple economics. But, quote, put together, the census shifts and redistricting trends point to one conclusion: Democrats' path to the White House is shrinking, the report added. Their coalition is concentrated in states that are losing people and losing electoral votes. Meanwhile, Americans are moving to states that are trending red and expanding in influence. That's why 2032 could spell trouble for Democrats. Even, excuse me, even with heavy support in California and New York, their share of electoral college falls short, leaving them with only narrow paths to victory, while Republicans enjoy multiple routes to 270. Texas Governor Greg Abbott on Friday signed into law a new congressional map aimed at expanding Republican power in the 2026 midterm elections, handing President Donald Trump and House Speaker Mike Johnson another win in their push to secure a GOP majority. Quote, Texas is now more red in the United States Congress, Abbott declared in a video on X as he signed the legislation. The Washington Times reported the rare mid-decade redistricting driven by Trump and the Texas GOP drew fierce protests from Democrats and immediate legal challenges. Voting rights groups filed suits this week arguing the new lines weaken electoral influence of black voters. Texas Democrats also vowed to challenge the map in court, staging a 2-week walkout earlier this month. I reported on that before returning under round the clock police monitoring to ensure they appear for debate. The fight has already reshaped next year's midterms. Rep. Lloyd Doggett, the longest serving Democrat in Texas delegation, said he would not seek re-election if the new map takes effect. His Austin-based district is slated to be merged with that of fellow Democrat Rep. Greg Caesar. The redistricting battle has also spilled into other states. Before Texas acted, California passed legislation to put new Democratic-leaning districts on the ballot to blunt potential Republican gains. Also, Missouri Governor Mike Kehoe has called a special session to consider redrawing congressional districts, while Democrats in Ohio expect Republicans to move soon on their own map overhaul. So it's going to be a little tit for tat going on, but ultimately, when the next census come out, that's going to be the big thing, because the census is going to show that these blue states and blue cities are hemorrhaging voters, are hemorrhaging people, and they're going to lose representation because of that. But y'all let me know what y'all think about this. Leave y'all comments down below. Like, share, and subscribe, and check out jjthepsychotherapist.com for the latest in news. Until next time, peace.